What's up guys, Josh Perez here, and today we're reviewing Aurora. Stay tuned for my full review and my full pronunciation lesson for ours. And I got a question for you guys at the end of the video, so do not miss that one. Here we go. So Aurora first came out in 2018. It was a Metro Manila Film Festival entry, and this movie made a ton of. And what's really impressive is that it only took about 3 million Philippine pesos to produce, and this movie ended up making like over 100 million Philippine pesos, and that is a huge deal. And before I get started with the review, I just want to give a big thank you to Rembrandt Van Gogh for the recommendation. Come on now, say your real name. You're doing good for 126 years old. Whatever you're taking, let me have some of that. But thank you for the movie recommendation. I actually wanted to try to check out Cuaresma, and I couldn't find that movie anywhere either. It's been hard to like track some of these movies down, but fortunately Aurora was on Netflix and I got lucky. So Aurora is about a big passenger ship that crashes just off of the coast of an inn or a homestay where a lot of people die, and the innkeeper just happens to be another casualty of the events as her business starts to suffer. No one's wanting to stay in the inn or even be around that beach with that ship and possible dead bodies washing up offshore. Liana is the owner and the innkeeper and is played by the famous and talented Anne Curtis, and she lives there with her younger sister Rita as they start struggling with the events that have happened with the ship and the impact that it's having on the inn's business. And quick fun fact, her husband, thank you, Erwin, for teaching me how to make garlic rice. I've never been so proud. Like, my rice cooker has never been the same since, and thank you. Anyway, so as Liana starts to struggle with the business of the inn, she starts trying to find other ways to compensate and make money, and she is presented with an insane offer of recovering any dead bodies that wash up on shore for a price. I don't think you pay me enough to like just start grabbing random bodies on the beach. Like, it's no thanks. No sir, no. I ain't touching no dead bodies. And with the help of a fisherman, that's where it all starts. So I'm gonna start by what I liked about this movie, and the one thing this movie has going for it is atmosphere. And I think they did a really good job with just capturing a really gloomy and just sad looking setting. Like, I think they pulled that off really well. So the setting, the atmosphere, and the tone is very well established in my opinion as far as what the movie was trying to go for. The other plus was Anne Curtis's performance in this movie. I think she did a really good job as far as acting. I really got that sense of this internal struggle with her as far as like taking on this task of recovering the bodies and the moral questioning that encompassed. And Arnold Reyes is in this movie playing Philip. Like, I had no idea that he was in this movie. So when I saw him in here, I was really surprised because he is a phenomenal actor. After seeing Birdshot, that's the first time I've seen him in a movie, and you know, man, I wanted more of him in this movie. He's only in a couple scenes, but they should have made him a more relevant character because this guy is a tremendous actor. Especially when you're pairing him with Anne Curtis, like, I think that is a perfect match for you know, a big movie, and that's too bad we didn't get more of him in this one. Also, going back to the tone and the atmosphere of this movie, there were several shots that I actually did like that I thought were kind of well done as far as like when they were showing the ghosts, but that was only when they would show it in the dark or at night, where, you know, the CGI was kind of obscured with the shadows and the darkness. I felt like it was more effective when it was done in those types of shots. That's when I felt like it kind of elevated the tone a little bit more, but it only worked at night. Like, it only worked in the dark. I think that's where it was most effective. So let me get into what I didn't like about the movie, and it's the way it was shot. Sometimes the CGI lands and sometimes it's just completely noticeable, but you know, I feel like they did a lot more of the ghosts during the daytime than they did at night. I felt like having the ghosts and a lot of that CGI played to its strength at night, in the darkness, in the shadows, where you couldn't quite make out the quality of the CGI. and just having it, you know, more times than not during the daytime, just kind of, it was kind of risky, because then that's when you started to really notice it. There was quite a few odd editing choices throughout this whole entire movie, especially as far as like shaky cam goes. There was a lot of scenes and shots where, you know, the shaky cam just kind of just threw me out of it. It wasn't effective. And, you know, there was even a moment where Rita's character is out in the beach and her, you know, sister is telling her to go back inside. She doesn't want her in the water. She comes running back in, and then, you know, you have a shot from inside the house looking out the door. And as soon as she comes in, like, runs into the cameraman. It's noticeable. We can quite see her bump into the camera, and, you know, they just kind of decided just to roll with that and keep it in. I felt like, you know, the handheld just, it wasn't done well. I felt like, you know, you needed to put that thing on the gimbal. Also, you have way too many scenes that kind of, you know, escalate and have this build up, only to just be abruptly cuts to the next scene, and just, you know, you're left like, what? And it just got me thinking that there were just way too many shots that just did not benefit the movie or the storytelling, and they could have just been thrown out. There were so many shots where they just could have just done away with, and it actually would have made the editing and pacing a lot more fluid. Another example is the time lapse over the ocean that you see that isn't a sunset time lapse or anything going on, and it was another shot that it was just completely wasted, because time lapses are supposed to show you the passage of time, and in that shot that they use it's not effective. Like, you know, there's no sense of passage of time, only for the sake of just using a time lapse, just to have a time lapse. This movie really has a great premise, I think. I think the setup is really good. I think it has a really good story to tell. And, you know, they plant the seeds. I just wish that, you know, there was a lot more of the editing and the camera work was a little bit more polished. But I think it has a really good story to tell. I do like how they explore the moral ethics of recovering bodies for money, because this movie begs the question, how far are you willing to go to make $1? Like, what are you willing to do to survive? Even if it, you know, means questioning your morality and humanity, especially with a struggling business, and, you know, Liana's facing financial hardship, like what's she gonna do? I like that they planted those seeds for those questions. I wish it would have dug in them a little bit deeper, and I think that having the family of the deceased and the passengers of the shipwreck more prominent in the movie, instead of just two scenes, actually would have built up on that theme a lot better than it actually did. Like, what actually made Liana's character a lot more interesting, and to see, like, you know, how she's going to evolve and deal with her choices and the consequences of that in reaction to the victims' families. I think that would have been really interesting to see a lot more of that. So I know I had a long list of nitpicks with this movie, but that's not to say that there were things that I took away from the movie that I actually enjoyed. And, you know, I really appreciate the fact that this movie has this, it's going for this Japanese horror vibe to it. Like, the tone just instantly reminds me of, like, Japanese horror, you know, like One Missed Call, or, you know, Dark Water, you know, like the original Japanese horror films. It has those elements to them, which I really appreciate, and I think in some parts it's effective. With all the things I think it could have been better with this movie, I think I'm gonna have to give this a Rambo juice. That's not to say don't go check it out. It's an okay movie. It's not one you have to go out and rush to go see, but it is on Netflix, so, you know, if you're not watching anything else, go ahead and check it out. I think it's a great representation for the Philippines and the horror genre, and I feel like it's only going to get better. I still think the Eerie is a better choice. I would actually recommend that movie over this one, but still, check this one out. And so here's my question to you guys. What is your favorite horror movie? Yeah, I put a lot of thought into that question. It took me 3 hours. So let me know that down in the comments below what your favorite horror movie is. You know, if you guys want to start a conversation on this or have any questions, follow me on Twitter. I do have an account on there. And you're not going to want to miss my next movie review for Corona Zombies. I promise you do not want to miss this one. And yes, it's a real movie. Yep. So stay tuned for my next review. Make sure you turn on notifications and keep it groovy.